Negociações Tarifárias EUA-China na Suíça Conferência de Imprensa Completa. Descubra os destaques do Acordo Tarifário EUA-China alcançado em Genebra, incluindo número-chave e implicações futuras.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us. First of all, we want to express our great thanks to the Swiss government for facilitating this trade meeting here in Geneva. We had very productive talks, and I believe that the venue here on Lake Geneva added great equanimity to what was a very positive process. We have reached an agreement on a 90-day pause and substantially moved down the tariff levels. Both sides on the reciprocal tariffs will move their tariffs down 115%. We had very robust discussions. Both sides showed great respect. It was a chance for me to meet the Chinese delegation. The vice premier I had previously had only a video call with. Ambassador Jameson was familiar with two of the other leaders on the delegation from his previous time. So there was very good personal interaction. Both countries represented their national interests very well. We concluded that we have shared interest, and we both have an interest in balanced trade. The U.S. will continue moving towards that. I will let Ambassador Jameson talk about the president's initiatives that began on a historic trade announcement on January 20th, which no other president has ever done, following to April 2nd, when we implemented the reciprocal tariffs.
Thank you, Secretary, and I will echo your thanks to the Swiss government and Swiss officials for hosting us this weekend. The atmosphere was very conducive to discussions, and thanks to them, we were able to have very constructive and positive conversations with our Chinese counterparts who clearly came to deal this week. The rapid nature that we were able to conduct and conclude these discussions is a testament to mutual understanding and mutual respect between the Chinese and U.S. sides. With respect to the U.S. trade position, our interactions with China and the agreement today, please keep in mind that the United States trade deficit has ballooned over the past several years, ending up at $1.2 trillion deficit in goods as of the end of last year, which was an approximately 42% increase over a few years prior, when there was an $850 billion trade deficit at the beginning of the Biden administration. So that is a rapid and expansive increase in the trade deficit. And our view is that this is driven in large part by non-reciprocal trade, among other things, and the result has been offshoring of manufacturing and other negative impacts on the U.S. economy. And so on January 20th, when the president was inaugurated, he released the America First trade policy, which was comprehensive and flagged that and actually directed agencies, including the U.S. Trade Representative and others, to research this issue and to provide options, which we did, and the president elected to impose reciprocal tariffs on April 2 to address this national emergency of the trade deficit. There was a global baseline tariff accompanied by higher reciprocal tariffs for each country, depending on the level and intensity of their trade surplus with the United States. In all of this, China was assigned a reciprocal tariff rate of 34%. China was the only country that chose to implement retaliation against the United States for this reciprocal tariff. All other countries, withheld and decided that they wanted to negotiate with the United States or simply not retaliate. And so we've been in detailed discussions with other countries for several weeks at this point. China, as you know, retaliated not only with tariffs, but with disproportionate and asymmetrical non-tariff measures in order to maintain the effectiveness of the reciprocal tariff measures. The president increased our tariff rates to offset Chinese retaliation. And as you know, this escalated to a point where both sides had added 125% tariffs, and with the Chinese side, additional non-tariff measures amounting to an embargo in some senses on trade, an effective embargo, which of course was not a sustainable practice for either side. And so today, with this agreement, we come to agreement that that our reciprocal tariff rate will go down to 10% on the United States side, so it goes down 115%. We enter into a 90-day pause period for negotiations, which both the Chinese and the United States are very committed to, and the Chinese on their side also go down 115% to 10%, and they remove the countermeasures that they have in place. To be very clear, other measures that the United States has put in place in the past, whether it's tariff measures from 2018 or since, tariffs under other statutory authorities, tariffs related to fentanyl, those remain unchanged for now to the side. I'll just make one point, is that both the Chinese and the United States agreed to work constructively together on fentanyl, and there's a positive path forward there as well.
Okay, great. So let's start with some questions.
Well, just if I may make a few final remarks to give you framing and context. I think throughout the trade process, we have had a plan. We have a process in place. And now with the Chinese, after this weekend, we have a mechanism for continued talks. So process, plan, and mechanism. I would say one of the big takeaways from this weekend, the United States will continue a strategic rebalancing in many areas that were exposed as supply chain weaknesses during COVID, whether it's medicines, whether it's semiconductors, steel, we've identified 5 or 6 strategic industries and supply chain vulnerabilities, and we will continue moving toward U.S. independence or reliable supplies from allies on those. But the consensus from both delegations this weekend is neither side wants a decoupling. And what had occurred with these very high tariffs, as Ambassador Greer said, was the equivalent of an embargo, and neither side wants that. We do want trade. We want more balanced trade, and I think that both sides are committed to achieving that. We would like to see China open to more U.S. goods. We expect that as the negotiations proceed, that there will also be the possibility of purchase agreements to pull what is our largest bilateral trade deficit into balance. That has gotten out of balance, and much of this has happened through neglect over the past 4 years, as the previous administration did not engage on this issue. That was put forward to us by the Chinese, in fact, and we can see it in what happened to the Phase 1 agreement. We are only looking forward, and we look forward to very good discussions now that we have the mechanism created in Geneva this weekend for talks.
Great. And with that, let's kick off questions. I'll start in the front row. Jenny Leonard, Bloomberg.
Thank you so much. Going into these talks, the president posted on Truth Social that he believes that 80% tariff on China seems right. You obviously went down substantially more. How did you end up going to 30%? Was that the president pushing you, or the Chinese not budging before you went down? And then secondly, you have a 90-day pause now, as you have with other countries. What specifically do you want to see in those 90 days? What kind of progress do you want to see in those 90 days and have agreed to not ratchet up the tariffs? Because it is just a pause, right?
Yeah, so
Tariffs then step back ceasingly if you have something agreed upon. There's such a
So the Chinese April 2nd number was 34, continues to be 34%. I'll let Ambassador Greer answer the first question. And just like with all our other trading partners, as long as there is good faith effort, engagement, and constructive dialogue, then we will keep moving forward.
I would just say, Jenny, with respect to, the president's message and ultimate rates, I mean, everything is a negotiation, right? And the president, he gives the Secretary of the Treasury and I and other members of the cabinet direction and advice on how to proceed. And we ended up at a result that is very good for the United States, very good for China as well. We retain our 10% global baseline tariff, which we have on other countries. We have, in addition to that, previous measures that we've retained, which have been, frankly, effective in reducing the U.S. bilateral trade deficit with China over the past few years. So that leaves us in a very good position all in with respect to measures on Chinese imports, but more importantly, leaves us in a constructive path forward to have a positive conversation with the Chinese on how to rebalance and have more constructive trade.
Great. In the back, Associated Press.
Hi, I'm G from Associated Press. We just heard Ali talk about 30% tariffs. So just try to understand these numbers here because they're all over the place. We were a 145 before, currently a 125 only from the Chinese side. So can you say clearly now, and the fifth question was, right now for the 90-day period, the U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods would be down 30%. Is that correct?
So again, this agreement is really about the reciprocal tariff, which was imposed by the United States on April 2nd, and the escalatory steps which followed. Those on each side, the Chinese side and U.S. side, ended up at 125% on each other. The Chinese had additional non-tariff countermeasures. That has all come down by 115% to 10% each. The United States earlier this year imposed 20% related to fentanyl. That still exists. So if you're looking at Trump Term 2, tariffs on China right now effective, it's 30%. There are prior measures which change by product, by sector, by level, etc. You can't really give a specific number on that right now. What matters for the agreement today is that we each agreed to come down on the reciprocal tariff and related retaliation to 10%. So a reduction of 115% down to 10%. Fentanyl is on its own track, but on a very positive track where we're having very constructive conversations with our Chinese counterparts.
And I would add a couple of things. This does not include any sector-specific tariffs that have been put across all of our trading partners. And as the ambassador said, I think he would agree with me that the upside surprise for me from this weekend was the level of Chinese engagement on the fentanyl crisis in the United States. They brought the Deputy Minister for
Public Safety,
who is not traditionally part of the trade team or the negotiating team, and he had a very robust and highly detailed discussion with someone from the U.S. National Security Team.
Great. Next, John Huddy with Newsmax.
Mr. Secretary, will there be any immediate impact